Betrayal doesn't start with shouting. It starts with a ring at midnight, one you almost don't answer because you already know it will change the rest of your life. My name is Naomi Reed. I was born on a foggy peninsula where boats outnumber secrets only on postcards. I left at 19 and never meant to come back. But when Aunt Ruth died last week, the aunt who raised me after my mother disappeared, the town called, and the town doesn't take no for an answer. I flew home with a funeral dress and the nagging feeling that grief was just the polite word for something sharper. The call came the night after the wake. Voicemail, the screen said, though my phone hadn't rung. Ruth's voice filled the room. Thin, tired, unmistakable. Naomi, if you're hearing this, I ran out of time to tell you the truth. Don't trust the will. Don't trust Ava. A breath. Locker 17 at the marina. Same code as your 15th birthday. Be careful, lamb. Aunt Ruth never called me lamb unless she was about to hand me bad news wrapped in mercy. I stood very still in the guest room that still smelled like lavender and salt and the kind of clean that only happens after someone is gone. Ava, my cousin and Ruth's golden project manager, was asleep down the hall, or pretending to be. Her heels had clicked around the kitchen all day like a metronome for condolences. I left without shoes, then came back for them because wet docks teach blisters. The marina was a row of mouths in the dark, lockers along the shed like chipped teeth. 17 stuck, then opened with the code I'd used for everything until I learned not to be predictable. Inside was a metal tin wrapped in oilcloth and a folded note. The note was 3 words in Ruth's tidy script. Not a drowning. I carried the tin home against my ribs, like it might bolt. Back in the kitchen, under the soft throb of the old fridge, I opened it. A hospital bracelet. A Polaroid of a newborn with a wrist too small for the tag. A second Polaroid, 2 infants swaddled side by side, indistinguishable except for a faint blue pen mark on one blanket. On the back, M+N. Keep them apart until it's safe. The date stamped red, the day I was born. I stared until the room felt a size too small. I'd heard the town stories. My mother walked into the sea. My father was a roomer with a truck. Aunt Ruth brought home a baby and a stare that dared questions. But 2 infants became one, which meant there had been another me, or almost me. Mira and Naomi? Mercy and Naomi? The M could have been anything except maybe a mistake. My phone buzzed on the counter. Ava *, you okay? A second later, before I typed, another message from an unknown number. Don't show her. Then, we're not done with the water. The back door creaked. I slid the tin under the sink just as Ava patted in, robe tied, hair perfect in a way that made grief look curated. Couldn't sleep, she asked, opening the fridge like she lived here. She did now. The will had given her the house Ruth had promised me with a look I'd trusted more than paper. I made tea. Want some? Not thirsty. I watched her watching me. Ava had been my first friend and my first rival. She'd learned early that in a small town, attention is currency. Why did Ruth change the will? She gave me the same shrug she gave tourists who asked where the lighthouse was when they were standing under it. She said you were happy in the city. Said I was better with old things. Houses need hands. A beat. Don't make this a fight, Nye. No one had called me Nye in years. It landed like a lure. I went to Ruth's study when Ava went back to bed. The room smelled like cedar and paper. The desk drawers were empty of the things that matter and full of the things that don't. Rubber bands, dried pens, a single earring shaped like a star. Behind the books, my fingers found what I was looking for. The hollow where Ruth kept the important. There was no cash, no deed. Just a small blue baby book with the cover rubbed smooth. Inside, a curling lock of hair taped to the first page and a pressed wildflower on the second. On the third, a birth record with my mother's name, *** Lena, Reed ***, and the word twins stamped, then crossed out in black ink. Beneath it, in Ruth's hand, *** state, said one. State is wrong. Asterisk. A floorboard groaned above me. The house shifted like it was listening. I slid the book under my sweater and crept to the hallway. A shadow moved at the top of the stairs, too tall for Ava, wrong shape for memory. I froze. Breath held until it hurt. Naomi. The voice wasn't Ava's. It was male, careful. The sound of 2 decades distilled into 4 letters. Ethan. Not the Ethan who broke my heart at 19. Another Ethan, the sheriff's son, now the sheriff, the boy who once taught me to skip stones and once didn't speak to me for a year because I told him secrets deserved better than him. He stepped into the light, hand raised like you do with skittish animals. Door was open, he said. Your aunt used to yell at me for that. She yelled at everyone for that, I said. My voice didn't shake. My hands did. What do you want? There was something in Ruth's initial effects I didn't log, he said. He nodded toward the kitchen. Tape recorder. She told me to make sure you heard it. I didn't listen. I figured she'd haunt me if I did. It was in the pantry, I said before I could stop myself. Something moved behind his eyes when I said pantry, like a lock remembering it was a door. Right, he said. Good. Then you know she was worried. She was always worried, I said. About me. About water. About what the town does to girls who ask questions. He looked past me toward the hall where Ruth's photographs hung in stern, loving rows. He chose his next words like they were heavy. We found a bracelet at the old quarry last night. Hospital issue. The tag was half gone, but the date, he looked at me. It matches yours. I said nothing because the thing in my throat wasn't a voice. There are 2 names not in the registry, he added, softer. Twins get lost on paper when people want them to. If someone split a birth to split a custody, I need to know now before the state starts doing math with people. Who told you about the twins? I asked. He lifted his hands, empty. Nobody. That's me guessing wrong, hoping I'm right. In the silence, I heard the ocean the way you hear a train from far off, inevitable, patient. I thought of the Polaroid of the oilcloth tin, of Ruth's 3 words. Not a drowning. What do you think happened to my mother? I asked. He didn't answer the question I asked. Tomorrow is the memorial at the pier, he said instead. Ava wants speeches. I want truth. If you have anything that keeps a person from falling in by accident, bring it. When he left, the house exhaled. I locked the door because dead women can't scold you for paranoia. I sat on the kitchen floor with my back against the cabinets and opened the baby book to the last page Ruth had filled. A pocket slit into the paper held a photo I hadn't seen. A girl with my face and not my face, older, hair longer, standing on the pier in a yellow raincoat. On the back, 1 word, Mira. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Asterisk, don't let her scatter the ashes yet. Some of them aren't Ruth's. Asterisk. The hallway light flicked on by itself. The old switch that stuck when the house got damp. But footsteps followed it, soft, certain. A shadow paused in the doorway, and a woman's silhouette filled the frame. Hair wild from wind, a raincoat where rain wasn't, breath like someone who'd run from a shoreline. She said my name the way a person says their own. My throat went dry. The woman in the doorway stepped forward, her raincoat brushing against the frame. Her face caught the light fully now, and I froze. Same gray eyes, same sharp cheekbones, same nervous bite at the corner of her lip I'd seen in the mirror my entire life. My name is Mira, she said softly. The word hit me like a current. The name from the Polaroid. The scrawl on the back of Ruth's hidden photo. Mira. This isn't possible, I whispered. You're not real. You can't be real. She tilted her head, studying me the way you study a memory you thought you'd lost. I'm as real as you are. We were born together. We were separated because someone thought it would save us. The room tilted. My pulse hammered in my ears. Twins. Mira nodded once. They told you our mother drowned, didn't they? That she walked into the water. I swallowed. Everyone said that. Her mouth twisted. She didn't drown Naomi. She ran, and they let her, because she was carrying both of us, and keeping us together was too dangerous. The kitchen felt suddenly too small, airless, like the walls had leaned in to listen. Why now? I demanded. Why show up now? Ruth's dead. Ava's circling this house like a hawk, and I. Because Mira cut me off, voice shaking. They're trying to erase me. Again. And this time, they'll erase you too if you're not careful. From the hall, a floorboard groaned. Both of us turned. Ava's shadow slipped across the wall. Her footsteps deliberate, unhurried. Couldn't sleep, she called lightly. Or is this a reunion? Ava's voice sliced through the kitchen like a blade wrapped in silk. Mira stiffened beside me, her fingers curling into fists at her sides. I forced my breath steady. You're awake, I said flat. Hard not to be with all the sneaking around, Ava replied. She stepped into view, her robe tied flawlessly, hair falling in careful waves as if grief had its own stylist. Her gaze flicked to Mira, lingered, then returned to me with a smile too thin to trust. And who, she asked, is this? My mouth opened, but no sound came. Myra's hand brushed mine, a warning, a plea. She's no one, I said quickly, the lie sour on my tongue. Just an old friend. Ava's smile sharpened. Funny, I thought I knew all your friends. Myra's voice cut in, low and sure. Maybe you don't know Naomi as well as you think. The silence that followed was thick, electric. Ava studied her, then me, then gave a small laugh. Well, whoever you are, it's late. Naomi and I have an early morning, don't we, cousin? You'll be gone by then, I'm sure. She turned, robe sweeping behind her, and padded back up the stairs. Each step echoed like a countdown. The second her door shut, Mira exhaled shakily. She knows more than she lets on. I rounded on her, whispering fiercely. And you showing up like this won't make it easier. Do you realize what you've just done? Her eyes burned into mine. Do you realize what they've done? Ruth tried to protect you, Naomi. But Ava and her mother, Amelia, have been rewriting everything. The will, the story of our mother, the company she left behind. Everything. And you're next. I stared at her, trying to anchor myself in the sound of the fridge humming, the clock ticking. But her words burrowed into me like hooks, rewriting everything. Mira pulled something from her pocket, a folded page, damp at the edges. She pressed it into my hand. I took this from Ruth's study years ago. I kept it hidden. Now it belongs to you. I unfolded it under the dim light. It was a copy of a birth certificate. Asterisk Lena Reed. Female. Live birth. Twins. Asterisk a black line slashed across the last word, heavy and deliberate. And beneath it, in Ruth's careful handwriting, they can never know. The paper trembled in my hands. Why? Why would Ruth erase you? Why keep me? Because you were easier to claim, Mira whispered. You looked more like Amelia. They thought they could fold you into their story, and no one would ask questions. But me. Her voice cracked. I was the complication. I wanted to deny it, to push the paper back at her, to say this was madness, spun out of grief. But deep down I knew. The Polaroid, the hospital bracelet, the way Ruth had always flinched at the sight of twins in town, like the world itself was a wound she couldn't stop reopening. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed against the counter. A new message from the blocked number. Asterisk the ashes aren't Ruth's. Don't let Ava scatter them. Asterisk. Mira read it over my shoulder, her breath cold on my ear. See? You're already in the middle, whether you want to be or not. The kitchen light flickered, a bulb Ruth had meant to replace but never did. For a moment, we both stood in that trembling glow, two halves of a whole that should never have been broken. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't sure who I was at all. Mira leaned against the counter, arms folded like she was bracing herself for a storm. I couldn't stop staring. Her presence felt impossible, like a ghost given skin. But everything about her was too sharp, too real. "I don't understand," I said. "If Ruth wanted me safe, why leave clues? Why tell me to find you now?" "Because she knew she was dying," Mira answered. "And because secrets rot if you keep them too long. She chose to give you the truth, even if it breaks everything else." I pressed the birth certificate against my chest. My voice came out smaller than I meant. "And our mother? Lena, did she really walk into the sea?" Myra's jaw tightened. "No, she ran from Amelia, from this town, but she didn't take us with her. Ruth made sure of that." Her words struck like a match in dry timber. All my life, the image of my mother dissolving into waves had haunted me. To know it was a lie, that she had chosen to run, was almost worse. "Why didn't she take us?" I demanded. "She tried," Mira said softly, "but Amelia had already decided which of us was worth keeping. Ruth helped her, and that's why I grew up in shadows while you lived in the light." The kitchen clock ticked loud enough to fill the silence. My chest ached. Ruth, Amelia, my mother, all of them had rewritten me before I even knew who I was. I set the papers down, gripping the edge of the counter. "So what now? What do you want from me?" Myra's eyes softened. "I don't want revenge, Naomi. I want recognition, proof that I exist. But you," she paused, "you need to decide whether you want the truth, even if it costs you everything Ruth built for you." Before I could answer, a sharp creak groaned overhead. Mira and I froze. The sound wasn't Ava. Her steps were practiced, delicate. This was heavier, slower, deliberate. I glanced at the staircase, heart hammering. "Who else is in the house?" Myra's expression went pale. Not who, what they left. My phone buzzed again, the screen glowing in the dark. Another message from the blocked number. Asterisk, check the attic. But not alone. Asterisk. I looked up at the ceiling, at the thin square hatch above the hallway. A draft whispered down, carrying the faintest trace of salt water and mold. Mira met my eyes. "Whatever Ruth kept up there, she wanted you to see it. But Ava will do anything to stop you." My hand shook as I reached for the attic pull cord. "Then we don't give her the chance." The hatch creaked open, dust swirling in the air. Stale air poured down, thick and heavy, as if the house itself was exhaling secrets. Mira touched my arm. "Naomi, wait." A thud echoed from above, sharp and close, like something or someone moving in the dark. I froze, staring into the yawning black of the attic. And then, from the shadows, a voice drifted down. A woman's voice, raspy but unmistakable. "Naomi, don't trust her." The voice from the attic froze me where I stood. My name wrapped in that rasp, too familiar to dismiss, too impossible to believe. Ruth was gone. I'd seen her lowered into the earth, felt the soil scatter across her coffin. And yet, Mira gripped my wrist, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," I whispered. My throat was raw. "But it can't be." The attic hatch yawned above us like a mouth. Shadows shifted inside, heavy enough to make the rafters creak. I thought of Ruth's voicemail, her last warning. Asterisk, don't trust the will. Don't trust Ava. Asterisk. Myra's grip tightened. "She's playing with us. Whoever's up there." Another thud cut her off. A box sliding across wood. Then silence, broken only by the sound of my own blood in my ears. I forced my legs to move, grabbed the pull cord and lowered the ladder. It groaned as it unfolded. Dust rained down, filling the hallway with the smell of cedar and ash. "I'm going," I said. Mira shook her head. "Not alone." Together we climbed. Each rung protested under our weight, as if warning us back. When my head broke the attic floor, I saw it. Stacks of trunks, boxes covered in moth-eaten cloths, and in the far corner, a shape hunched against the wall. "Naomi," the shape whispered again. I crawled inside, Mira close behind me. The shape moved, revealing not a ghost, not Ruth, but a tape recorder propped against a trunk. The play button was pressed down, the spools spinning slow. Mira exhaled sharply, relief mixing with anger. It's a recording, but the voice was still Ruth's. Shaky, tired, filled with weight. Asterisk, if Naomi finds this, if she makes it here, then Ava knows too. And if Ava knows, Mira must be near. Listen carefully. The story they fed you about Lena, it was never the whole story. She didn't drown. She didn't run. She was taken. Asterisk. Mira's face went white. She clutched my sleeve like a child. Taken. The recorder clicked off, then word back on with a final line. Asterisk. The proof is in the blue trunk, but don't open it unless you're ready to lose everything. Asterisk. The tape clicked dead. We both turned to the corner where a trunk sat, its leather faded, its latch rusted. A faint smell leaked from it, salt and decay, the scent of long-closed rooms by the sea. Mira whispered. She knew we'd come here. I crawled toward it on shaking hands and pressed my fingers to the latch. Cold, heavy, final. From downstairs, a door slammed. Ava's voice carried up the stairs, sing-song and sharp. Naomi? What are you doing? Mira's eyes met mine. She can't see this. If she does, we're finished. I pulled the latch. The trunk creaked open. Inside was a stack of folders tied with twine, a bundle of photographs, and at the very bottom, a soaked yellow raincoat stiff with age. Mira gasped. That's... Yes, I whispered. The coat from the picture. And then I saw it folded beneath the coat. A birth record stamped with a single word in red ink. Kidnapped. The word glared up at me from the page. Red ink bleeding into the fibers like a wound that never healed. Kidnapped, not lost. Not drowned. Not runaway. Mira leaned closer, her breath quick and shallow. They lied about everything. I lifted the bundle of photographs from the trunk. The first showed my mother, Lena, standing on the pier in that same yellow coat, holding 2 infants wrapped in blankets. Us. Her smile was small, nervous, her eyes darting toward someone just out of frame. The next photo cut me deeper. Lena in a hospital bed, hair plastered with sweat, Ruth at her side looking grim. Not joyful, not proud grim. And in the corner, blurred but unmistakable, Amelia. The last photo stopped me cold. It was Lena, standing beside a car I didn't recognize, her hands empty, her expression terrified. Behind her, someone's hand clamped around her arm, forcing her forward. Mira's hand shook as she flipped over the image. On the back, Ruth's handwriting. Don't let Amelia bury this. The floor creaked below us. Ava's footsteps, deliberate searching. We need to go, Mira whispered. Now. But I couldn't leave. Not yet. Beneath the photos was a folder marked with my name. Naomi Reed. Inside were forms I didn't recognize, custody transfers, notarized signatures, even medical notes. Every page had the same signature at the bottom. Amelia Ward. She signed you over, Mira said, voice trembling. You weren't Ruth's to keep. You were Amelia's to own. My pulse roared in my ears. I felt sick, like the attic itself tilted beneath me. Everything I thought I knew about belonging, about family, about why Ruth raised me, it wasn't protection. It was possession. The ladder below us rattled. Ava's voice floated up, bright and sharp. Naomi, come down. You'll hurt yourself. That attic isn't safe. Mira grabbed the raincoat and shoved it into my arms. Take it. Proof she can't rewrite. I stuffed the coat, the photos, the folder into the trunk's lid and slammed it shut just as Ava's head appeared at the top of the ladder. Her eyes swept the attic, sharp as glass. She smiled when she saw the open trunk. So, you finally found it. My heart stuttered. You knew. Of course I knew. Ava climbed the last rung, steady and unafraid. I've spent my whole life cleaning up Ruth's messes. Lies, files, photographs. Burning what needed to burn. She was always too sentimental. But you, Naomi, you were supposed to be smarter. Mira stepped forward, blocking me. You'll never get rid of me again. Ava's smile widened, but her eyes turned cold. You already don't exist. The attic light flickered, buzzing faintly. Dust floated between us like ash. Ava reached into her robe pocket and pulled out a lighter, clicking it once. A small flame bloomed, hungry waiting. Give me the folder, she said, or this whole house goes up with you in it. The flame danced in Ava's hand, tiny but merciless, the way fire always is. The attic smelled of dust and old paper, kindling waiting to happen. Mira's voice was steady but thin. If you burn this, you burn yourself too. The truth doesn't disappear, Ava. It comes back. It always comes back. Ava tilted her head, eyes glittering. That's what Ruth thought. But lies kept her alive longer than truth ever could. She wasn't strong enough to do what I can. I stepped forward, clutching the raincoat under my arm, the folder heavy against my chest. My voice broke, but held. Why me, Ava? Why erase me? Why build a life out of lies just to bury me in them? For the first time, her smile faltered. Her gaze softened, just slightly. Because you weren't supposed to survive. The words hollowed me out. What? She clicked the lighter shut with a sharp snap, plunging the attic back into shadows. You were the weak one. Fragile. Sick. Ruth wanted to keep you alive. Amelia wanted Mira and Lena. Lena wanted freedom. They fought over us like scraps. And I chose. I chose which one would carry the name. Which one would live in this house. You were convenient, Naomi. Easier to mold. Easier to erase when necessary. Mira's breath caught. You had no right. No, Ava said calmly, but I had the power. That's always enough. For a long moment, the three of us stood locked in silence, the house groaning around us. Then I opened the folder, holding one page high so Ava could see. Not this time. Her eyes narrowed. What are you? I dropped the page. It fluttered onto the open flame of the lighter she hadn't realized she'd relit. The fire caught fast, curling the edges, spitting embers onto the attic floor. Ava gasped, lunging to stomp it out. In that instant, Mira yanked the lighter from her grip and hurled it across the room. You're done, Mira hissed. Ava's composure cracked. She swung at Mira, nails catching her cheek, but I shoved myself between them. Stop! All of you, stop! My chest heaved, my voice raw. This ends now. No more lies. No more rewriting. If I burn with the truth, then so be it, but I won't live another day being someone else's story. The fire fizzled against the attic floorboards, a smear of black smoke rising and disappearing. Ava's shoulders slumped, rage bleeding into exhaustion. You think anyone will believe you, she whispered. A ghost twin and a box of moldy papers? No one will care. I looked at Mira, then back at Ava. I don't need them to believe me. I just need them to see you. We dragged the trunk into the open, the coat, the photographs, the birth records, all of it. By morning, the sheriff had it in his hands. By noon, the town was buzzing with the scandal of the century. Ruth's whispers had become shouts, and Ava's empire of careful lies cracked like old glass. Mira stood beside me at the pier where it all began, the yellow coat draped across her shoulders. For the first time, I felt whole. Two halves no longer pretending to be one. As the tide lapped against the wood, I whispered to the water, to Lena, to Ruth, to every silenced voice. We're not erased. Not anymore. Mira slipped her hand into mine, and together we watched the sun rise over a town that would never look at us the same way again. But deep down, I knew the hardest part wasn't exposing the lie. It was learning who Naomi Reed truly was, when for so long she'd been stitched from secrets,